Any health-related information on the following show provides general information only. Content presented on any show by any host or guest should not be substituted for a doctor's advice. Always consult your physician before beginning any new diet, exercise, or treatment program.
For centuries, ancient cultures knew the secrets to longevity, vitality, and healing. Now, modern science is catching up. Ageless Blueprint is a podcast that will reveal the modern secrets of better health and a better life. Join Dr. Eldred Taylor here today and every Wednesday at 9 a.m. Eastern Time on W4HC Radio at W4HC.com. As together we discover the secrets to better health through science and spirituality. A better life with Ageless Blueprint starts now. Here's your host, Dr. Eldred Taylor.
Hello, good morning, good Wednesday to you. I am Dr. Taylor, the hormone doctor and the spiritual MD. And I'm so happy to be here today. And what I want to talk about today is that, last week we talked about how you can increase your telomeres, which is really talking about how you can increase longevity, how you can stay healthy and happy for a longer period of time. And because I think that's so important, I want to just go back over it again, because that's really what the Ageless Blueprint is all about, is how can you stay ageless? How can you not succumb to old age? And I think that's different than, just living longer. We don't want to live longer and be in poor health for, the last 10, 15 years of our life. My goal is that I stay healthy, productive, an active part of my community, my family. And I think that's what most people want. And I just want to help guide you to see if there are some things you can do to make that become more of a reality. Because what I have learned is that you shape your reality more than your circumstances. So you have to take an active part in what your future reality is going to be. And there's steps you can take. And, the way I structured my Ageless Blueprint school is that first we start off with hormones. And hormones are so important. That's why we wrote the book, Are Your Hormones Making You Sick? And then the second book we wrote was The Stress Connection. And I think that second book is more important than the first one, and that's part of the hormones. So when we look at hormones, we look at female and male hormones, and we look at cortisol, because stress, what I've learned is that stress disrupts everything. It disrupts your hormones, it disrupts your gut, it disrupts your brain. So it's so important that I want to do a second podcast on it. I may do a third or fourth, because 90% of the visits to a 90% of the time when you go to a doctor, you are going for a stress-related complaint or disorder. And that's from a study 20, 30 years ago. Now it's probably 95, 98%. So what I want to do is we're going to look at this Telomere Trajectory Quiz. And I want to go through it so you can identify the stress, because the first thing that's important is you want to identify the stress, and if at all possible, get rid of the stress. The second thing is that if you can't get rid of the stress, change how you respond to the stress. And that's why I talk so much about meditation, because that's one of the best ways to change how you respond to stress. And then the third thing is repair the damage caused by the stress. So if it's damaged your hormonal balance, we want to repair it. If it's damaged your adrenal gland, which makes cortisol, we want to repair it. If it's damaged your gut, we want to repair it. And then we want to prepare you for future stress. So for right now, what I want to do is I'm going to do this screen share, and hopefully I can pull up the right thing. Let's see. Gotta find it here. Thought this was gonna be so easy to find. Where's the? Let me pull it up here, and then I'll be able to see it. Can you see that telomere effect? If I share my whole screen, you should be able to do it. Share entire screen. That's probably the easiest way for me to do it. All right, now can you see it? Can you see it, Rebel?
And yes.
Okay, all right. So let's start here. So we're going to take this quiz, and I hope you can score it, okay? So you're going to calculate your score from 1 to 4, where enter 1 next to the statements that apply to you and 0 to the ones that don't apply. So are you experiencing severe ongoing job stress? I always say don't let a job kill you. This is another big stressor, full-time caregiver for a disabled family member. And sometimes we're caught in between all of these. We may have sick children, we may have a severe job stress, we may be taking care of elderly parents. So all of these, they're cumulative. And so you may be experiencing 1, 2, or 3 of those, and they all add up. All right. Do you live in a dangerous neighborhood? Do you feel unsafe? And sometimes people feel unsafe in their own body. They just have this anxiety, or if you are in a neighborhood, or if you're in a family where you don't feel safe, that is all affecting you. All of that is affecting you. Are you experiencing extreme stress almost every day due to some chronic situation or recent traumatic event? And what I've learned is that you can make yourself well just by thought, and you can make yourself sick just by thought. So even if you're thinking of an experience that you've had in the past, that's what we call post-traumatic stress. Even if you're thinking about it, it can become a stress that can affect your health. All right. So if you scored, so this is the scoring. All right. So the higher the score, the better off you are, the lower your score. So if you score 2 or more, you're at high risk. So these are these telomere points. All right. So let's go on. Mood disorders. Do you have a diagnosable condition like anxiety or depression? And if you have a diagnosed mood disorder like that, that is going to cause stress also, because you're not going to respond appropriately to a situation if you're chronically depressed or you have chronic anxiety. You overemphasize situations because of your mood disorder. All right. So how much social support do you have? Is there someone that can give you good advice? Is there someone you can count on to listen to you? Is there someone who shows you love and affection? Because all of this can reverse all of those stressors that we talked about earlier. Do you have someone you can talk over your problems with? Do you have as much contact as you would like with someone who you feel close to? So what is your social network? Do you have a strong social network? If you don't have a strong social network, get a dog. Your dog will always love you. So that's why I say is man's best friend. So you need some kind of social support, whether it's church, a community organization, and the biggest social support is your spouse. And that's why it's so devastating, especially to men, when their spouse passes away after they've been married for a long time. They get this severe loneliness, and it can lead to an early death. As I've said before, men need women, and women don't necessarily need men to live longer. Okay, if you're a man and you're a widow, I would say that you need to go and try and reconnect with a woman, because women are healthy for men. Healthy women are healthy for men. That's what I should say. Is that a better way to say it, Rebel? That if you're a healthy woman is good for a healthy man.
I
You
believe it is.
Yeah, you don't want an unhealthy woman. Women can be. Well, let me be quiet. Let me stop talking before I get myself in trouble. All right. So you want social support. How much physical activity do you do? So I did not do much physical activity. You do once or twice a week, about 3 times a week, or almost daily. And you don't want to over exercise. Just some movement. We're going to talk about that. Just some movement will help you. I have I've started maybe 8, 9 months ago going back to the gym, because I had a goal that I wanted to keep my body fit. Even though I'm 65, I see these images of these people my age, and they're fit. I see them at the gym. So it encourages me that you don't have to, your body doesn't have to deteriorate just because you're getting older. And you start off slow, you build yourself up, and even just walking, doing some kind of movement, even a qigong or tai chi, they've been doing those for thousands and thousands of years. And that is to keep their physical ability, because when you lose your mobility, you lose a lot of joy in life. I like to travel, and I see that when you travel, especially in these foreign countries, when we went to Egypt, you you have to be limber to go into those caves and to those temples and all that. You have to be mobile. So you want to do whatever you can to maintain your mobility. All right. Sleep patterns, and that is what I've been working on. And I always say you cannot manage what you cannot measure. So that's why we do cortisol testing and heart rate variability. We try and measure stress so we can manage it. I measure my sleep patterns, and that is very, very important. Now, I'll tell you, they say you should get 6 to 8 hours of sleep. My goal is to get more than 6 hours, because that's just kind of how I'm built. If I get 6.5 hours, and I look at my sleep monitor and I get enough REM sleep, REM sleep, and deep sleep, then I'm happy. But I am focused on that because I haven't been good at that in the past. And next week, I'm going to talk about, right now, I'm just talking about things that you can do, and it really doesn't cost you anything. It's just lifestyle changes. But next week, we're going to go to the next step. We're going to talk about how epigenetics can show you what's aging you more quickly. I'm going to show you some of my biohacking monitors that I have, which I think are very important because I like data. You know, I got interested in hormone replacement, bioidentical hormone replacement, once I could measure it in saliva. And then I had data that I could go on that worked. I started being interested in stress when I learned how to measure saliva, cortisol in saliva, and look at heart rate variability. Now I had data. When we're going to talk about peptides, I do epigenetic testing so I can know what peptides to focus on. All right. So with sleep, there's certain things you can do to help you with sleep. I talk about some of those in the school, Ageless Blueprint School. But there's things you can do to get data. We can talk about aura rings. I want to introduce you to something called Hume, which I think is great. I may do a whole podcast on that. But I think you need these measurement gadgets because even if you're talking about longevity, this Hume BioPad that I'm going to talk about, it helps you to measure longevity day by day, so that you can know what are you doing every day that's either increasing or decreasing your longevity. So anyway, so I measure my sleep. I think that's very important. You want to get 6 to 8 hours of sleep, and you want it to be good quality sleep. You want it to be deep sleep. You want it to be REM sleep. That's when you actively dream and your subconscious is open. All right, what are your nutritional habits? Are you eating good fats like avocados and seaweed and fish that contains omega-3 oils like salmon? Please stay off of the sugared sodas. You just don't know how much sugar is in those sodas. You want to stay off of those. Processed meat, all of that is bad. Now, I will tell you, I am really plant-based. I don't eat meat anymore. It helps me to maintain my weight. I don't feel sleepy and tired after I eat. I would encourage you. You don't have to go totally plant-based, but try and limit the amount of meat you eat. And if you eat the meat, let it not be processed. Go to your local farmer's market, get grass-fed beef without any antibiotics or anything like that. So you want to avoid processed meats at all costs. Now, another thing I want to tell you, you want to avoid barbecue meats. Though the char that's on that barbecue is really carcinogenic. It has nitrites in it. And so, you want to cook your meat properly if you're going to eat the meat. And I know barbecue, I live in the South, I know it's a big deal, but just be wary of that. If you're going to do it in moderation. Don't let meat always be a part of your meal. Try and go at least one meal without having meat. And eventually you'll do two. And then you may do it where you only eat meat 2 or 3 times a week. But I think that's very important. and how much whole grain, whole uh, whole the whole foods, I guess you should say it, are you eating? Are you eating vegetables? Are you eating unprocessed meats? How much fruits and vegetables? Are you getting your 5 servings a day? So I know that's hard to do, but hey, like I said, in the morning I eat my quinoa, I put blueberries, I put raspberries in it, I may put a banana in it. Then I try to eat something that's plant-based for lunch and also for dinner. But anyway, let's keep going. Let me see. What is the last one? Oh, we did sleep. We did stress. We did movement. We did social connection, and then we did food. All right. So that's it. So I think we did. Didn't we? If not, I will have this as an attachment to this podcast. Did we do it last time?
What was that? To
This. Yeah, I know we had an
showed it?
attachment last time.
We did. We showed it.
Yeah. So I just want to show you guys that I practice what I preach, okay? So can we do this video? Can we do this video, Rebel? You see it at
All
the
right,
end?
I'm on
Yeah.
my walk. I did number one, I did my meditation to relieve my stress. I slept 6.5 hours last night. And in my meditation, it said my brain was at an optimal level. So while I'm walking, I'm learning. You always want to expand your mind. So I've done my stress relief. I've done my sleep. I'm doing my exercise. I'm learning. I'm also going to the gym today. I'll go back. I'll eat my plant-based breakfast. And then I will have a social connection with my family and maybe with anybody else I meet today. All right, that's it. This is day 2 of my challenge. Let's see what and where you are in your challenge. All right.
So I started a 30-day challenge in my school group. I put it on Substack. I'm gonna put it on Instagram. It's just, having information and not using it or not following it is totally worthless. Okay, so if you're listening to this, if you want to make these lifestyle changes, I just encourage you to do it. Do one of them. Look at your sleep pattern. And I think we're going to talk about that next. Is just try to make a few little changes. Like one week, say, okay, I'm going to walk for 10 minutes, and that's it. The next week, say, well, how can I have a plant-based diet, plant-based breakfast? Maybe oatmeal with some fruit or whatever. The next time you say, hey, look, I'm going to walk and I'm gonna meditate, or I'm gonna, enjoy nature. Sometimes you can, like say you combine it all at once. I walk, I'm listening, I'm learning something while I'm walking to expand my mind. Man, you can do walking meditations. That's what I learned with Joe Dispenza. We would do a 30-minute walking meditation. So there's a way when you say, oh, I'm busy, I don't know if I have 10 minutes of time. Well, you can try and combine 2 or 3 of these at once. You can meditate while you're eating. Okay, so we talk about mindful eating, and we're going to go through a list of what you can do during a day to try and change your longevity habits. Okay, so how much time we got? So now let's go to the slides. This is going to be quick. We're going to talk about what changes can you make if your trajectory is not the trajectory that you want. These are some things that you can do to try and change that your trajectory. So to Telomere Effect Part 2, the quiz that reveals your cellular aging path. So last time we looked at 5 critical lifestyle habits that directly impact telomere length. Now, this is not just some foo-foo thing. This lady won a Nobel Prize for the telomere effect, discovering telomeres, how they're affected, how you can lengthen them. And you want to know what trajectory you're on. So when you look at a trajectory, you can go this way, but you can change your trajectory slowly, and now we can try and decrease aging. So that's what we're doing. We're trying to change the trajectory of our life, and it's never too late to do that. Okay. So it has a scientific foundation. Elizabeth Blackburn and Elissa Appel is a comprehensive assessment tool that evaluates 6 critical lifestyle domains that directly influence telomere health. And whenever I say telomere, it's longevity. All right. The quiz represents decades of research into cellular mechanisms of aging. And when you break it all down, it's all about the cell. There's something that's called as within, so without. So what you do for every little cell is actually affecting your whole body. So that's why we talk about cellular aging, because that microcosm of a cell actually reflects your whole entire body and health. All right. So we have stress management and emotional resilience. We have mood regulation and mental health, sleep quality and recovery patterns, dietary choices and nutritional habits, exercise frequency and movement patterns, and social support and relationship quality. So it isn't a medical diagnostic test. It's a powerful lifestyle mapping tool that helps you identify which daily habits are either protecting your telomeres or putting them at risk. And the quiz predicts whether your telomeres are a protective trajectory that supports longevity or a risky path that accelerates cellular aging. So again, we want to change if you're on a good trajectory, keep on going. And next week we'll talk about other things you can do to even intensify that trajectory, where we can make you age even less or at an even slower pace. All right. I always talk about stress and emotional health. That is my big thing. And I constantly apologize that I talked about the stress connection, but we didn't talk enough about the stress disconnection. And so these high risk factors that you have that can cause you significant stress are chronic caregiving. And I can tell you how many patients I see who are in this kind of band where they have parents who are 70, 80, 90 years old, and they also have children who are in their teens and 20s and 30s. So you're taking care of them, trying to make sure that they go to the right school and that they're set up and they get a good job and they're able to sustain themselves, which is harder and harder for young people to do. It's more and more young people who are having to depend on their parents longer and longer because of the economy. What I could buy a house after finishing my residency, you can't do that anymore. And even doctors who are in so much debt coming out of school and then having to try and start a practice or join a practice or whatever. Anyway, so you have this where you're trying to take care of your kids and you're trying to take care of your parents. And that is a very stressful situation. Unsafe environments, living in a place where you don't feel safe, whether it's an unsafe neighborhood or an unsafe family or social, you're in an abusive relationship, you're a child and you are living in an abusive family where your parents are either mentally or physically abusing you. That is high stress. And that childhood stress, that can linger for decades. And a lot of the emotional problems that people are having as an adult all stem from those unsafe environments when you were a child. And remember, you're in a hypnotic state for your brain waves are in this theta hypnotic state whatever you see as a child in your first 6 to 7 years, you think that's how life is. So if you live in an abusive family, you think that's the way the life is. And even unconsciously, you will recreate that same situation in your own life if you don't understand that subconscious drive that's pointing you in that direction, that points you toward an abusive relationship, and you're doing it unconsciously. So professional burnout, that's what we have to worry about. And I've been through that. I've been through professional burnout where I was on stage, I was speaking to a large group of doctors. That was an annual meeting that I went to, and my slides were up there, and I went totally blank. The people that thought I had a stroke, that I had a TIA, a stroke, because my mind just left me. And that's because I had been in my practice. I took a flight out to Las Vegas. I spoke that morning and my mind went blank. And for 6 months, I had to recover from that professional burnout. And I have dedicated myself to not do that again. Okay. So, and then post-traumatic stress. So let's move on. All right. Protective practices, meditation and mindfulness. I can't stress enough how important meditation is. I just can't stress it enough. I found it late in life, but I want you to start as early as possible. That is how you respond to stress. You meditate, you quiet your mind, and you will find that that stress becomes manageable if you if you can change how you respond to it. And I will tell you that Muse headband has taught me how to meditate, where I can do it with the headband on, I can do it without it, is that I can make my mind go quiet, even though there's chaos all around me. So, breath work and stress reduction, journaling and emotional processing. And that's what I'm talking about is trying to process some of those emotions that you inherited from your childhood. And you want to build psychological resistance. That's what meditation does is allows you to stay calm, your mind to stay calm so you can think, so that you don't go into this reactive, instinctive type fight or flight response to everything. You can quiet yourself down, you can think coherently, and you can respond to people and not react in a habitual manner, reacting to your spouse or to your children or to your coworkers in a way that you know is going to bring conflict, but you do it because it's a reaction. If you can slow your mind down, you can respond to them appropriately so it doesn't lead to further conflict. All right, sleep and recovery. I told you that's my big thing that I'm working on. I'll be honest with you. Probably a year ago when I wasn't focused on this, my sleep patterns were awful. I had a monitor and my sleep scores were awful. I didn't know what to do about it. But I started meditating. I started doing these other things, these hacking things that I'm going to tell you about. And I am a firm believer that nothing gets better if you don't sleep. You can take all the supplements you want. You can do all the IVs. You can do whatever you want. But if you don't sleep, none of that gets incorporated cellularly to build those cells. And those individual cells are what makes you. So you have to worry about cellular health. And that's what happens during sleep. You repair yourself, you regenerate yourself, you get rid of old dying cells so new cells can be expressed. You have to sleep. So whatever you need to do to sleep, whatever you need to do to sleep, other than sleeping pills, we want to get you off the sleeping pills because that's not natural sleep. Other things, and we'll show you some things that you can do to help you to sleep. So sleep represents a critical window when your cells perform essential repair and maintenance function. The quiz specifically evaluates both sleep quantity and quality. And a lot you can do it with your Apple Watch. You can do it with the Aura Ring. I'm going to show you this Hume band. There's all kinds of things, but you want to focus on your sleep and your sleep quality. You want to establish consistent sleep schedules, creating optimal sleep environments. You want a cool, dark room. I started wearing an eye patch. You want 7 to 9 hours. Again, if I get 6.5, I'm happy. And you to shift your telomere trajectory from risky to protective. Sleep isn't just rest, it's active cellular restoration. Exercise. You want to do some kind of exercise. I know in the Apple Watch, it'll tell you to stand up after 90 minutes. It doesn't have to be crazy exercise, and you don't want to over exercise because that is actually a stress. So you want to do it moderately. And it's always good to have a walk. A walk is kind of serves two purposes. It gives you exercise. And when you're out in nature, stop and smell the roses. Okay. Look at the trees and the structure of the trees and how the pattern of the trees and the different trees. If you're not living where there's a lot of, greenery, I live in a place where there's a lot of greenery. So I just look and you just see the beauty of nature. If you live downtown in a high rise, walk around the building and look at the beauty of man's creation, how they can build these buildings in these tight places and, just be grateful wherever you are. So exercise is a part of expressing gratitude also. And that's a powerful emotion. You want to talk about how to relieve stress. Start being grateful. Start being grateful for your negative experiences and your positive experiences, because your negative experiences actually lead you to change. Okay, just think about it. Some of your worst experiences made you make a change. Okay, even the death of a spouse. I'll tell you, my parents, last few years of their life, and when they passed away, it made me make a change to start practicing more functional medicine. How can I help myself function better for a longer period of time, and I don't begin to waste away, 10 years before I actually pass away. So even though that was an awful time in my life, it made me make a change. So I'm not grateful that I'm grateful that my parents lived and they were an example for me, but they also helped me to change my focus on health. All right. So let me see. We got one. We talked about nutrition and diet. I think it's break time. So this is a good time to break. And I'll be back. We'll finish these slides. And then we're just going to go through a day in the life of a person who's changing their trajectory. We're going to look at the old and the new. We're going to finish these slides, and then we're going to look at how you can change your whole day that it's focused on changing the trajectory of your telomere life or your longevity. All right, so let's go to break.
We are going to a quick break, so stay with us as we explore the ageless blueprint right here on W4HC Radio and Talk4 TV. An ancient secret with a modern twist for better health and vitality. Dr. Taylor will be right back. Taking care of your health shouldn't mean taking a handful of pills every day. At Taylor MD Formulations, they create doctor-developed supplements that combine the best natural ingredients so you get the results you need with fewer pills. Taylor MD Formulations is backed by science, designed for real life with real results. Less pills, better health, doctor approved. Shop now at TaylorMDFormulations.com and discover smarter supplements for smarter health. That's TaylorMDFormulations.com. We are back for more of Ageless Blueprint. Once again, let's join Dr. Taylor for more insights and research on the ancient secret to better health and a better life in modern times. Here's your host, Dr. Eldred Taylor.
All right, so now we want to talk about nutrition. I told you about those bad processed foods. So, I know everybody like hot dogs and they like hamburgers on the grill. And I'm not trying to take away all of your fun, you guys. Okay, you can have fun, but just realize what it's doing to you, okay? So these are protected. So here are the risky foods: processed foods, sugary beverages, refined carbohydrates, and inflammatory oils like vegetable oils. Those are inflammatory oils. You actually want to have non-inflammatory oils like avocado oil, olive oil, coconut oil. Those are non-inflammatory oils that you can use. You want to have protective foods like colorful vegetables. I started a garden 3 or 4 years ago, and you want to talk about how you can change your response to stress is start a garden, and you start to eat fresh foods and fruits and vegetables, and you start to see the beauty of nature, and you see how nature provides abundance. And people want abundance in their lives, and nature naturally is abundant. I can't eat all. I just have a little garden. I have 10 different things on it, and it makes so much I can't even eat it all. I have to give it away, or it rots. So start a garden, and it changes your attitude really. When I go out there, I went out there this morning before the podcast, and I have some eggplant and some bell peppers. I have jalapeno peppers out there. So start a garden. It's not that hard. I use this square foot garden where you plant something in this square foot, and so you can do a lot in just a small space. So that's just a suggestion. And then that provides direct programming of telomeres maintenance and cellular aging process. So the quiz evaluates your ratio of whole foods versus processed options with particular attention to sugar intake from beverages and snacks. Your dietary choices literally program your telomeres for protection or destruction. Diets high in processed foods, sugar, and inflammatory ingredients consistently correlate with accelerated telomere shortening. So I'll tell you, stress is important, sleep is important, and your diet is important. If you can just make a change to one of those this week, and then you say, okay, I'm going to do that, then you move on. But those are so important. And then we can go to the exercise and the social connection. But I would tell you the top 3 is the stress, the sleep, and the food. And then the exercise is great. It's all important, but these three are like, they are, these don't have any objections. These things you have to do. There's no downside from these. Yeah, you can over exercise, you can do all that, but these are the foundations, is the sleep, stress, and diet. So we talked about the social connections. That is important. I told you, especially in men. Men need companionship. Okay, women, like I said, women, they can be widowers for 20, 30 years. A man, if their spouse dies, they are at a very high risk for death. If they've been married for over 20, well, I say over 30, 40 years, and their spouse dies, they are at high risk that they will die in the next year if they don't have strong social support from their children or from another woman or somewhere. So these social support relationships are very important. So you want to score your quiz. You want to see where your trajectory is the worst, and change that first. Okay, if it's your diet, then that's what you want to focus on first. If that's where your main negative score is, then focus on that first, and then just look and see where you're doing well, and be happy, be proud, and say, hey, look, I've been doing this right. I'm going to keep doing it. This is giving me positive reinforcement. So you know what is positive for you, and you know what is negative for you, and you want to try and enhance the ones that you're doing well, and you want to try and slowly make a change to those bad habits that you have. So we won't go through this case. So then again, identify a priority area. Select your single lowest score. So try and make that change first. That's damaging your telomeres the most. You want to implement something daily, whether it's daily walk, I'm going to do that, or it's a daily what I'm going to eat for breakfast, or I'm going to change what I eat for lunch, or change what I eat for dinner, and just make that change. Don't try and do it all at one time, because you're going to fail. You want to have those little victories that stack up on each other, and those little victories become big victories, but you got to start off somewhere. And you always want to measure. To say again, you cannot manage what you cannot measure. And what you focus on and what you track, that is what will change. If you track your progress, that's why I have all of these little gadgets that I'll show you next week, is they track my progress. Am I doing the right things? And if I'm getting off schedule, how do I get back on schedule? And then you reassess your results. You can go back and take the quiz again and say, oh, wow, I scored here. I scored at this point, this time, and now I'm here. So good. So that's your action plan. All right. All right. Now, your telomere trajectory. So your results aren't destiny. Your quiz scores is feedback, not a fixed fate. Every lifestyle change creates new cellular possibilities. And remember, what you do for your cells, you're doing for yourself. Okay. We'll get into this a little bit later, but when you're looking at metaphysically and all of this stuff, every cell has the same functions as you do. Your cells respire, they need oxygen. Your cells need energy, so you give them nutrition. Your cells have an elimination, they detoxify themselves. So whatever you're doing for yourself as a whole, you're doing it for each cell. And that is where the aging takes place cellularly. All right. So you want to amplify results. Advanced tools like meditation, light therapy, we're going to talk about light therapy next week, and hormone optimization can accelerate cellular protection gains. And in ACEs Blueprint, we look at hormones, then we start to look at deeper things like epigenetics, look at your gut, look at how we can use energy to change your biology, and then we go from there. So then community support. If you don't have support, join ACEs Blueprint. That's what that community is for. Is that every day I give you a ACEs tip of the day. I have classes in there. I have hormone clarity course. We have the five pillars for ageless living, and then we have a mindset mastery course, which I think is the most important. Probably by next week, I'm going to have a beginner's guide to peptides. I am actively learning and implementing peptides into my practice, and I'm going to implement it into my ageless blueprint. I think that is a key to longevity, is to finding out what is aging you the fastest, and you use peptides and other supplements to make sure that you slow down the aging of that particular system that seems to be most out of balance. And we can do that with epigenetic testing and other testing. All right, so I invite you to join the Ageless Blueprint community. That's a community support for you. It's www.school.com/ageless. You can go to allmylinks.com and /EB Taylor MD is scrolling right there. All of my links are there, even to some of the gadgets that I've been talking about. You can click on those. You can learn more about that. So I put all of my links in one place. So for the last 10 minutes, let's go to the other thing I have prepared. Let me get out of this. Yeah, that one. All right. So let me make it where I can see it. It's the blueprint thing is kind of in the way. Is there any way to move that around so I can see the top of it? I guess I can look at it on my own. Oh, there we go. Great. All right. So this is how we can reorganize your whole day. All right. So when you wake up, don't wake up expecting stress. Okay. Don't wake up saying, oh, I know this is going to happen, that is going to happen. That's another thing that I've learned. Everything that you are doing right now is a culmination of your past. The reason why you wake up feeling stressed is from something that happened in your past. And now you're predicting it for the future. And when you do that, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. So if you wake up thinking that you're going to have a stressful day, that is exactly what is going to happen. Okay, so you got to wake up in a different frame of mind. Reappraise your stress response. Wake up. Just say, hey, at least I'm alive to deal with the stress. Okay, set an intention for the day. Look forward to any positive aspects. Just say, wow, I know the sun is going to rise today. All right, so at least I'm seeing another day dawning, and each day is a chance for you to have a new experience, but you have to have new thoughts to have a new experience. All right, that's part of my mindset mastery. All right, early morning, you don't want to regret that there's no time for exercise. You can just do a 5-minute walk around your house. My mother used to do that. She used to walk around the house for 10 minutes because if it was cold outside, she would always, it didn't matter if it was cold or hot or whatever. She just walked. So there's always time. Again, you can park further from wherever you're going to go to the grocery store or whatever. That's a walk. You're increasing your activity. So for breakfast, instead of eating a sausage and bagel, which is processed meat, and then it's a simple carb, eat oatmeal with fruit, eat a fruit smoothie and yogurt. You can eat a vegetable omelet. All right. Try to take meat out of at least one meal a day. In the morning, don't rush and have hostile thoughts and think about road rage. Take 3-minute breathing break, just even before you get out of the house. If you're rushing, I have started the mantra is that I have all the time in the world. Okay. I had to do something this morning. I was wondering if I had enough time before my podcast, and I stopped. And I said, I have all the time in the world. I had to take something to my daughter this morning. She had left a license in my house at our house. I said, I'll go over there. And I said, it's going to take me 30 minutes. It took me exactly 30 minutes. I got back here. Just change your thinking. I have time. And you'll see that that it seems like time slows down for you. It's all how you perceive things. So when you arrive at work, you don't want to play catch up from the moment you arrive. Give yourself a 10-minute window to try and change your mindset. Okay, I'm going from my home life to I'm going to my work life. Let me change my thinking. Let me settle into where I am now and be present. That's what we talk about with meditation. Being present, saying, who am I? Where am I? And what am I doing? I talk a lot about that in my mindset mastery, is that be present where you are. Don't be at work and carry the argument that you had with your wife or your kids and bring it to work. And now that just extends your misery. And then you're going to have a problem at work, and then you're going to bring that problem at work home. So just be present where you are. And when you're somewhere else, you be present there. So for lunch, instead of eating fast food and deli meats, which are processed, take something to lunch. Make your own lunch. Practice mindful eating. And I'm bad at this. Is when you're eating, think about what you're eating. Think about how that is going to nourish you, how it's going to feed your cells. It may sound silly, but that's being present. So you don't want to eat and be working at the same time. Take that break and let your digestive system work. Believe me, that's why if you go to a fine restaurant, what happens there? The lighting is low and the music is soft. That is trying to stimulate your parasympathetic nervous system, which is your rest and digest system. So these restaurateurs, they know what mood you should be in to eat. Okay, so that's why they said it like that. Now, in a fast food restaurant, it's bright lights, it's screaming hamburger, hamburger, hamburger. Because in that state, it's a stressful state, and it's only matching your state. All right. So at a fast food place, it's rush, rush, rush because that's the state you're in when you go there. But then when you go to a nice restaurant, you want a soothing state, and so they set the mood for you. So yeah, these restaurateurs, these business people, marketers, they know this psychology. You need to know it so you can implement it into your daily life and not just when you go to a nice restaurant and spend 200 bucks. Okay. So in the afternoon, instead of giving into cravings for sugary drinks or candy or baked goods, you can have a telomere friendly snack. Eat some nuts, eat a fruit, eat some colorful fruit, or have a salad. You're going to have that, a small salad in the afternoon. So in the evening, don't ruminate about how bad work is and how you hate your boss and how your wife doesn't understand you. Don't ruminate like that. Mentally distance yourself. Like I said, you're not at work anymore. You're not in that stressful situation anymore. Be present where you are. I'll tell you, that's something that I had to work on in my career when I was doing OB and I was running here and there and trying to deliver babies and do all this other stuff. I would not be present at home. And my wife realized that, my kids realized that, and I had to make a change. And that's one of the reasons why I stopped doing OBGYN, because it was affecting too much of my life. And I was getting too old to wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning. But part of it is that I couldn't be present where I needed to be present. And then for dinner, have a whole food dinner. And again, maybe that's where you eliminate meat. Do you eliminate meat at dinner or breakfast or lunch? But you want to start somewhere. But you want to have a nice whole foods dinner. Now, I don't get any, money for this. I use Marley Spoon, and they have a vegetarian where they send you the food and you actually have to prepare it. And for me, I like to cook and prepare it. It actually calms me down, but it also expands my diet because they bring me food that I normally wouldn't buy, and it's opened my mind up to different types of foods. So if you are having trouble trying to figure out what to do one of these food services. And Marley Spoon is by Martha Stewart, and it's very tasty. All of my meals are plant-based. So there's a million of these different companies. So just pick one, and it may help you to change your nutritional habits. And in the evening, run through your evening activities and chores without a break. Don't do that. Okay, you want to have a stress reducing technique. Listen to some music. You can listen to a funny show. Comedy and laughter is very relaxing and it's very nourishing for your cells. So look at something funny, do something like that, and then have a routine that calms you down. So I use red light therapy. I have a meditation that I do at night. So you want to have a routine where it takes you away from this external world and lets you calm down and calm down your inner world so you can have a good night's sleep so that you can wake up the next day with a new attitude. So I think that's just about it, right, Rebel? We're almost done.
Yes, we are.
Okay. So I don't know if we had any questions. Do we have any?
one?
Okay.
We have one group of questions that basically boil down to,
Okay.
and it's going to take a moment. But if you
Okay.
work in a stressful environment, say a hospice nurse. How do
Uh,
you
oh,
how do
man.
you deal with that situation? I knew it was a big question, so I didn't want to hit you with it. That
Oh,
might be something to
yeah.
think about.
Hey, this is all I can say. God bless hospice nurses because I don't know if I could. One reason why I did OB because I didn't want to do oncology. I didn't want to deal with patients dying on me. Okay, so eh, all I can tell you to do is when you're there, be present there, and when you're gone, you have to leave that behind. And that's easier said than done. I would tell you meditation would help you so you could come home and meditate and you could free your mind of that. But I tell you, I've had some patients who are hospice nurses, and you have to be a special kind of person. But I believe that God made people who could deal with that. And if you're one of those people, God bless you. But I would do all these other things that I'm suggesting to make sure that it doesn't age you prematurely. Because it's all about perception. I would perceive that as a stress. If she perceives it as not being a stress, it's not going to affect her. If she feels like she's being of service to those people and she has a positive attitude about it, I don't think it will affect her like it would affect me because my perception is different from hers when it comes to death and dying. So that would be my answer to that.
Well, we thank everyone for asking the question. Hope that you
Yeah.
guys got your answer. We are
Yeah.
at end of time.
And tune in next week. We're going to keep spending. So this is kind of the cheap stuff. And so now we're going to talk about some things you might have to invest in to help with that. So to help monitor you. So, but these things are things that you can do just as a part of life. It doesn't really cost you anything. But then there's some other things with some biohacking things we can do to help accelerate that. And we'll talk about that next week. Okay.
Thanks for joining Dr. Taylor today. If you missed any part of this show, just check out the podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. Ageless Blueprint is every Wednesday at 9 a.m. Eastern Time on W4HC Radio at W4HC.com. Together, we discover the ancient secrets to better health through science and spirituality made for modern times. Until then, feel free to check out agelessblueprintpodcast.com and TaylorMDFormulations.com for more information.